Hey guys, today we're doing a movie review on the movie 8th Grade. This movie I watched a week ago, and now that I've kind of thought about what I'd seen and kind of like digested a little bit, I give you my review of this movie. And let me just start by saying how kind of disappointed I am with it. I'm not like thoroughly disappointed, but I'm kind of disappointed. There was quite a bit of reviews on it that said it was really good, all this type of stuff. I didn't really pay attention to that, but it was produced by A24, and I really like the movies they do. But it's usually a hit and miss, or it's like 90% good and then like 10% bad. And this one I feel like was in that 10% bad category. Um, Basically what the movie is about is just a girl and her last week of 8th grade. That is about it. Um, I guess we'll just pop right into the pros and cons of this movie. So, definitely the first thing that I noticed um, was how well the movie encapsulates the emotion of 8th grade. Like they did that really well, and that's from just everything where teachers are trying to be cool, trying to be hip like the teenagers. Um, they showed how like kids aren't as innocent as people think they are. They also captured like the inside humor of middle school and all that type of stuff really well. They really nailed it there. But I think the top thing that made it, or the top pro of this movie is that the acting and the actors really delivered something that felt real for like talking about 8th grade, and like the emotions that they delivered definitely made you sympathize with the characters. The main actress, I don't know if they were just like rolling the camera when she was just finishing a shot or something and just caught those minute details of acting, or if she's just a talented Oscar-worthy person. But there are moments in this movie where she's sad or she's confused or she's scared or something like that that just feel so real. Um, I don't know if I don't, yeah, I don't know what they were doing there, but she did a definite good job there. The dad in the movie, I don't know who he is, but he also does a really good job. Every situation is unique and it feels very real. But that kind of leads into the cons of this movie. Um, this movie is pretty much marketed as a comedy, but I did not see it as a comedy. Um, it's kind of weird. Like if they had marketed it as like a tragedy or a drama, I would have enjoyed it more. I think because while it's a comedy, I only laughed like 4 times, and the rest of the time I'm like slightly depressed because it captured 8th grade in a way that was like it doesn't bring back fond memories, and especially in this movie, there's a lot of stuff now in 8th grade that adds to the loss of social interaction. What I mean by that is there's one key moment in this movie that's such like I don't know, they didn't draw super direct attention to it, but it is so key to 8th grade and high school and like teenagers and stuff like that that it kind of hurt. Because it's so true. There's this moment where the main character, she's an 8th grader, right, and she wants to hang out with these high school students. So she goes to the mall, And as she's like approaching them, we hear this conversation between these two guys and these two girls, and they're talking about having a triathlon for this dead kid at school, and the guy is arguing that they shouldn't have it, because or he didn't say they shouldn't have it, but they're like, um, why do we have a triathlon for this kid that no one knew or cared about? And she's like, oh, because he died, we got to remember him. And he's like, well, I'm remembering him by being truthful. Everybody else is putting on like a facade, and thinking he's so special. And it's only there for like 30 seconds, but it delivers an emotion that definitely hits home. Because I remember moments in in middle school where there was things like that, not necessarily that exact situation, but those harsh realities and conversations definitely do happen. But it also highlights like the depressing slash unabashed ideas of young kids and stuff like that. It's pretty harsh, and it's such a small moment in the movie, and there's so many things like that where it's really depressing in like a very simple way, such as there's moments where, well, I mean, it's pretty much the whole movie. The main character, she's always on her phone on social media, and everybody's on their phones and social media, and there's a lack of communication between actual people. There's the moment where the main character and her dad are eating at the dinner table, and there's no conversation happening because she's just listening to her phone, and he's just kind of sitting there, and while they have this weird bickering argument that, again, it feels very real, it's really, and there is a couple jokes, but it's really depressing. It's one of those moments that are just super sad, and if they had marketed it as a tragedy of an 8th grader, I would have been more apt to understand, but it came out of left field for me when that happens. There's a lot of other moments in the movie that are just like also depressing, like the weird advances from this high schooler on the 8th grader. He wants to have sex with her, and she doesn't. And it's really uncomfortable, and I do think that highlights moments. It's not definitely relatable to me, but I feel like a lot of people have had that moment. Again, it feels real, but it's also depressing. This is supposed to be a comedy, and that there's a lot of things that just are really sad to me. That's I think one of the biggest criticisms of this movie. Like, they said it was comedy. It's not a comedy. But then, okay, there's another thing is they the story doesn't really have a plot. It's just a sliver of someone's life, and they recorded it. And while that's a perfectly fine thing to do, I just feel like there was no antagonist to really help to fight the protagonist. There was no like singular thing that led the main character to do something that made her grow. She did grow in a sense at the very end of the movie, but it was never something like that you could really see the whole movie. I'm watching the movie, I'm like, okay, she goes to school. Okay. She talks with this kid at a pool party. Okay. She learns confidence. Okay. She goes back to school. Okay, she has a weird encounter with this high schooler. Okay. That's the end of the movie. That was kind of also a letdown when things just kind of flowed, but like it didn't seem to go anywhere until the very end of the movie, and you're like, okay, that's the end of the movie. I don't know if it's a sliver of life moment. Also, if that was communicated before watching the movie, maybe it would have made it a little bit more enjoyable. But it wasn't when I didn't know that going into it. Another big thing was how much technology was featured in this movie, but the main theme wasn't about technology. So, like I was saying, there's like literally no there's no social interaction with other people in this movie, or there's not that much. The main character is literally on her phone 24/7 in this movie, or she's on social media or something like that, and everybody else is. And from what I got, I was like, oh, the use of social media and the use of technology can inhibit people's interactions with people and lead to anxiety or something like that. and and then at the very end, I thought she would address that, because throughout the whole movie she's kind of addressing things on these vlogs that she's doing in the movie. But that's not the case. The very end theme is that 8th grade can be terrible, but as long as you can acknowledge that and you think about the future, then things can be alright. And I definitely like the ending where she kind of wraps up and she acknowledges that she can grow as a human and not have to be limited by 8th grade. But when the whole movie was about technology, or like generally the whole movie is about technology, and then that's not the theme, and you have two competing themes, I think it lessens both themes down quite a bit. But that's my opinion. Some people really love this movie, so I'm not saying it's a terrible movie by any means. I'm just saying that kind of got me there. And then this last thing, I know it's so hard for people to do this, but it really got to me. I said my pros were definitely how good the humor was for 8th grade, like it really encapsulated 8th grade. But to get that accuracy, the movie director and script writer, whoever, they really had to sacrifice the timelessness of this movie. Like, if you can tell a joke and then in 20 years that joke is still funny in a movie, you did a good joke. But to get an accurate depiction of what 8th grade is, you have to have jokes that are relevant for that time period. So this came out in 2018, right? So there's definitely a lot of jokes that are 2018 based jokes, but they're jokes that are only going to be funny in 2018. They're not going to be funny in 20 years. So I feel like that's good. That was one of those things that accuracy, really accurate, but timelessness, it's definitely not. That's one thing that I wish could have been better. I don't know how they could have done it better, but I wish it could have been better. Alright guys, so I just ran some numbers in my Excel document to get the true movie score, and I calculated that it is 6.4225 out of 10. Now, that kind of doesn't really mean anything, but here's my final word. I personally did not enjoy the movie as much as everybody else on the internet. It definitely does a lot of good things, but for the most part, it's just not enjoyable. It's not something you're gonna watch with friends and enjoy. From personally, maybe I'm wrong here, but that is my opinion. And go out and watch it if you think you're actually gonna enjoy it. Let me know if you enjoyed it, and tell me why you enjoyed it in the comments below. If you like this video, like and subscribe. Maybe hit that notification button. I don't know how YouTube works anymore. But catch you next week when I have another movie review for you. And stay awesome. Gucci. Just kidding.